Hey everybody, welcome back to Colony Drop, your favorite Gundam podcast. My name is Isaac.
And my name is Brian, and this is a podcast where we talk about anything and everything related to the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise. From the anime, to the music, to the movies, to the models, to the food, to the clothes, to the lore. Isaac, you name it, we do it all.
That's right, Brian. We even do such important work here at Sunset Studios as determining once and for all which characters, at least out of two of them, not all Gundam characters, dealt the most damage, or at least turned the tide of a war in a greater capacity, in the greatest capacity, I should say, than the other. Isn't that right? God, that sounded weird. What am I saying? What am I saying, Brian? Explain it more clearly.
That's right. So, listeners, Isaac just has this deep-seated trauma from when Zeon lost the 1 Year War, and he's always just wondered if it was really that kid, Amuro Ray, or was it really his nemesis that he hates so much? That guy, Char Aznable. Was it really? Which one of them really did Zeon in the most? I don't remember exactly how we got onto this topic, Isaac. It was something that happened to you this week that spurred this in your mind. But that's what we're going to discuss today. Who actually did more damage or hurt Zeon more in the 1 Year War? Was it Amuro Ray or was it Char Aznable?
This is a big what if, and I think fans of the 1 Year War will appreciate this. Because if you think about it, we have arguably the two most important new types, two possibly first confirmed new types in the 1 Year War, and two best pilots of mobile suits in the 1 Year War. They both played very important roles in it, but they both had one thing in common, despite fighting on opposite sides of the war, and that is they did not like Zeon. Now, Char, he might have liked a future version of it, which we will call Neo Zeon, which eventually did happen. But in the present sense of the word during the 1 Year War, Zeon, as ruled by the Zabi family, Char was not a fan of it. I think we can all agree on that, right, Brian? Char was anti-Zabi Zeon.
Oh, absolutely. No questions asked right there.
So, we've established Char's against Zeon, and it's obviously working against it throughout the whole series. Amuro, obviously against Zeon, although maybe in like the start of the series, he was just sort of a teenager in a neutral colony who would have been okay riding out the war, not really getting involved. But as luck would have it, Brian, he became a teenager thrown into a cockpit, and there he goes. Now he's against Zeon because they're going to be causing a lot of problems for people he cares about, right? His family, his friends, his new surrogate family on the White Base. He becomes an enemy of Zeon. I felt like this was a great sort of topic, sort of a competition in a way.
Sure.
Who dealt more damage to Zeon, Brian? Was it Amuro Ray or Char Aznable?
Oh, man. You know what? Even as I talk right now, I'm still not sure who I'm going to pick at the end of this thing.
Me neither.
Did you come into this with any particular thought in mind? And did you change it by the end of your analysis?
Somewhat. So I'm still kind of on the fence, but I think I know which way I'm leaning, which we'll discuss towards the end. It wasn't by a nose, though. It was by a little bit more than a nose, I think. But I sort of had to view this as I would by looking at a timeline. You have to look at where both of them were throughout the 1 Year War.
Sure.
And what impact they had with the decisions they made. And it really comes down to just a handful of decisions, I think, that really did the most, the majority of the damage to Zeon, whether done by Char or whether done by Amuro. And I just went from there, Brian, starting in chronological order. How about you? How did you approach it?
So I did it kind of two ways. Ooh. I tried to do a very direct way of like actual physical damage done.
Yeah.
And then I decided after figuring that out, I had to decide if that physical damage was significant enough to like put one over the other.
Yeah. It gets abstract, doesn't it?
It does, because it's not all kills are the same, certainly. But then just beyond the physical damage, the second way was you just had to look at things they did. And that's actually harder to measure because, as you said, a lot of it is a what if. So I think I'm circling a conclusion, but I'm not sure it's very satisfactory. So, I'll have to think about that as we discuss this. So why don't you take us through your timeline, and then I'll chime in as we go, and then we'll do my two ways at the end. One of my ways involves a little bit of math, which is fun. So of course it's going to involve math because I did it. So
not math on a podcast. 1 + 2 = unsubscribe.
Hey, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about the math, so there you go.
That's right. Well, you came to the right place because, as we all saw with the shield question at Anime Expo Chibi, we have some highly detailed minds.
Oh, they are
listening to a Gundam podcast, especially Colony Drop, apparently. But going back to your question, Brian, starting on the timeline, of course, we have, ironically, the first time Char and Amuro meet, which is in episode 1 of Mobile Suit Gundam. Char Aznable has been deployed with his squad of Zaku mobile suits to steal the Gundam. And at the same time, Amuro Ray gets thrown into the cockpit, or kind of tumbles into it, and decides to fight to defend the colony as best he's able to. And at this point, I think the clear sort of winner in this situation is Amuro Ray for really throwing a wrench into Zeon's plan to steal the Gundam, which arguably could have given them a good amount of information to perhaps improve their own mobile suit program, which G-Quux kind of goes into. You could also make the argument at the same time that the war is kind of going to go one way at this point anyway. Zeon is exhausted, as General Revel famously said. So Zeon might delay the inevitable by doing Gundam upgrades to their mobile suits, but they won't necessarily gain enough to win the war outright from just capturing the Gundam itself. Since, as we all know, now in 2025 of December of 2025, there were dozens, if not hundreds of Gundams throughout the Earth sphere on various missions and such. So the loss of one would not have been overwhelmingly devastating to the Federation. Brian, what do you think?
So I somewhat agree. However, you did mention G-Quux. I mean, they just made a whole show about this scenario, right?
With like Kira though.
True.
Other stuff going on.
Absolutely.
But sure.
But Amuro's mere presence apparently counts for something, because if he's just not there and Char gets the Gundam, even if it was the other Gundam with the bits and all that stuff,
sure,
it certainly could go a different way. And I mean, I know there's like Giren's Greed scenarios out there, right? Where doesn't Char get a Gundam at some point, like the green one or something like that, or even the red one? I wonder how those play out in Giren's Greed. If anyone's ever played, let us know in the comments. But
there has to be a way, Brian, that we like hire, well, maybe not hire, but like tell an AI to translate that entire game so we can play it on an emulator and finally get it out of the way.
I wonder, there has to be at least one version of the game that's been translated for emulators. I'd have to look into that.
If there's not, like, how hard is it for like an AI to just go through the code and say, okay, well, this in Japanese means this and this in Japanese means that. Here's the game. Hit play. It's an emulator now and it's in translated to English. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure someone will figure it out and do it.
But as you were saying, Brian, you were talking about the actual difference of Amuro being present or just the mobile suit being captured, the Gundam being captured.
Yeah, I mean, my point is he gets some credit for just being there, apparently, because we've seen one version where it goes very poorly for the Federation, very well for Zeon, if Char gets the Gundam. Now, in the version that I assume we're talking about, I'll call it the Prime timeline or something. I mean, Char didn't even get out, right, to go get the Gundam. They were planning to destroy it for them. I mean, those Zaku pilots are pretty trigger happy. I mean, they were going to blow it up, right? So,
sure.
I think in the normal timeline, Char probably wouldn't have got the Gundam anyway. But you can say Amuro was critical to the success of certain things, or he took certain critical steps along the way, and apparently one of them is just showing up, Isaac. It's like when you get 30 points for just putting your name on your paper, and you turn it in.
So for just showing up, you feel like Amuro's weight as a presence outvalues the destruction of the Gundam?
No, I'm just saying apparently there is inherent value to having someone keep the Gundam from Zeon. Does that make sense?
True.
This is also one of the things that I'm going to count for Amuro. And actually for Char as well. It kind of goes both ways, so it kind of cancels each other out. You could almost say that if both of them were left to their own devices, they would have just wreaked havoc on the other side, right? But they sort of kept each other occupied throughout the war, right? If Amuro was just plowing through grunts, his kill count would have been like 500. But he had Char there maybe a third to a half of the time, like kind of weighing him down a little bit. And the same for Char. We're going to get to this later, but Char doesn't even appear in the top 8 ace pilot kill counts for Zeon. And that's largely because he was just chasing Amuro the whole time.
Oh, that's true.
Imagine if they just let him go. You know how many gyms he would have killed? A lot. Right?
That's kind of all he does.
They sort of balance each other out in that respect. But at least in the first episode, Amuro, by merely getting in the Gundam, keeps it out of Zeon's hands. That doesn't mean that one Gundam in particular was going to win the war. But to your point, if someone like Char had got it, killed Amuro, and then had the Gundam that early, and the Federation didn't. I mean, as we saw in G-Quux, it could go very, very poorly for the Federation, apparently.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like Char himself and Amuro not interacting with each other. Wow.
It's a weird thought, right? Because they're kind of like symbiotic. They sort of both make each other better pilots throughout the show.
If I'm recalling the kind of somewhat of a bounty on the white base and the white devil, it was like a 2-rank promotion or something like that. Is that right? Or maybe it was 6 rank.
Yeah, it was a fairly decent promotion. Yeah.
Okay. So at a certain point, were Zeon officers and stuff that at least had autonomy, kind of like Char, were red uniforms. Were red uniform Zeon officers sort of avoiding the white base because of just its previous record, that it plows through whoever it fights?
I don't know if they're avoiding them, but it definitely causes a psychological impact, right?
Yeah.
If you're one of the Zeon pilots, you don't even have to be one of the good ones. If you're out there, though, and you see a white mobile suit, you got to have that in your back of your mind of like, oh no, is that the one? Is today my day, Isaac? Is my ticket going to be punched? And, so there was definitely a heavy psychological impact that he was exerting on the battlefield. And probably the same could be true about Char. He's probably even more famous at that point because the Federation pilots have had 9 months to hear about Char, and Zeon pilots have only had probably, a month, 2 months, 3 months to hear about Amuro.
That's true. Both of them sort of became their opposite side's monster that you wouldn't want to fight on the battlefield.
Exactly. They're the boogeyman of each side.
Yeah, perfect analogy there, the boogeyman. Amuro had less time as the boogeyman just because he joined the war like 9 months in, and it's only a year.
Right.
But Char, he was there from the beginning, so everybody knew about him. All of their kind of aces and stuff, even the Nightmare Solomon, he only got that name towards the end of the war, if you think about it.
Yeah, you can't have Nightmare of Solomon in your name for anything that happened before Solomon because it's in the name, right?
Yeah. The Immortal Fourth Team, they didn't really become famous until, enough battles had happened where people assumed they're immortal.
Right.
Same thing with Johnny Raiden. He's just, what was he? Red Lightning? No, Crimson Lightning.
Get it right, Isaac. The Crimson Lightning.
Oh, God. All right, I'll give him some credit, though, because he was Caecilia's guy. All right. But yeah, I still feel like Amuro comes out as, at least in that situation, as doing more damage to Zeon because he not only gets the Gundam, but he gets his first initial piloting experience. At that point, he pretty much becomes the most experienced mobile suit pilot for the Federation side.
Yeah.
And then that's arguable though, depending on what series you watch.
Right.
And at that point, it's such a blow to Zeon not to either steal or destroy the Gundam that they're
those pilots in the Origin, if that's what you're referring to, did so poorly that I wouldn't count that as experience. And they all died, by the way. So it's not like they were able to bank any of that experience.
I was actually going a little bit further than that. Well, sort of. Actually, no, I was going a little bit later. I was talking about Igloo.
Oh, okay.
Where if you remember, the Federation managed to steal some Zaku's.
Oh,
Who knows how? But they stole some Zaku's. So they had their own little Zaku units for a very brief period before they died.
Yeah.
So that's what I was referring to. But I think those pilots did die also. So their experience was lost. Amuro's kind of the only one.
Right.
So
what was that guy? Was he called the White? Was it the White Ogre? That guy? That was a cool name.
No. So that was
one?
the Zeon side.
Oh.
Yeah, where they were finding the Type 63, I think.
Yeah, okay.
God, that was such a weird, bizarre, but also very memorable series because of how out there it was.
That's a lot of good lore in it, too. We refer to it all the time. Like, once again, listeners, if you've never seen Mobile Suit Gundam Igloo, you should probably go watch it. At least the first 2. The third one's a little weird with the whole, Grim Reaper thing, but it does have that really cool gun tank episode, so.
Yeah, the gun tank, wow. But, yeah. So I think initially, Amuro's in the lead, just starting off the bat for getting the Gundam going.
Okay.
Now, what comes next, though, and yes, I know, listeners, there's a lot of stuff that happens in each episode with Amuro and Char, but not necessarily everything has an impact on the war.
Sure.
The bright slap, no impact.
well, hold on. That got his britches on straight and set him on a good path, Isaac.
A strong talking to could have done the same thing, or the frustration of having to eat a burger that had no seasoning on it.
Never underestimate the power of good discipline.
Exactly, yeah. Nothing says your military's working like your officers needing to slap your pilots. But the next point on the little timeline of significant, impactful moments into the war effort is, of course, Brian, the death of Garmazabi, or kind of the killing of Garmazabi, I guess you could say.
Yes.
Now, Garma is the first member of the Zabi family we see die in the 1 Year War. You could argue his role was half ceremonial, half not ceremonial. He was out there actually doing things, but at the same time, it did kind of seem like he was maybe half a figurehead on Earth representing handsome Zeon.
Sure.
Right, with his blue hair and all that.
Yeah.
So the prince. He was playing the role of the prince. There you go.
Right.
So Prince Charming out there, kind of doing stuff, kind of not. He gets killed, arguably because of Char. Well, clearly because of Char's lack of assistance. And as a result, that really changes sort of the nature of how the Zeon's government is run. Let's pick your brain on this, Brian. In Garma's death situation, would Char have been able to save Garma?
Yes, because he put Garma in that situation to begin with. He could have helped him, certainly.
Okay.
I don't know that they would have defeated the Gundam or anything, but he could have certainly ensured that Garma did not die.
Yikes. Okay. So that's kind of what I was leaning to. No matter which way you cut it, whether you feel like the white base kind of is more responsible for Garma's death over Char himself, you have to agree that Zeon's government was shook up by the death of Garma. At that point, Daegwin looks like he releases any power he has left and kind of goes into mourning, and Gihren steps in to fill the void. So, moving ahead, we have the Gihren chapter of Zeon in the 1 Year War, which means things like the destruction of part of their fleet when Daegwin went to go meet with Revel at the end of the 1 Year War. It means the use of the solar ray system. It's arguable that that point was pretty critical in terms of damage dealt to Zeon. And I feel like with the failure Gihren ultimately had in the end, compared to Daegwin's at least attempts to wind down the war, whether it would have been successful or not, or what that even would have looked like, your guess is as good as mine. But I feel like at that point, Char comes out on top just for assisting, or at least orchestrating, the death of Garma. What do you think, Brian?
Absolutely. Garma is one of the biggest pluses in Char's corner here. So, I mean, spoilers, he gets 2 out of the 5 zombies. So he might not have the highest kill count, but man, taking out 2 of the 5, I mean, that's huge, right?
True.
Killing Garma kneecaps the succession plan for Daegwin. And so I would argue that by killing Garma, Char killed any future that the Zabi Zeon had. Garma was the future of Daegwin Zeon.
Yeah.
And he took that out. At the beginning, not even at the end. He kneecaps it right up front, which in my opinion is pretty huge.
Yeah. The more I think about it now, with Garma's relationship with, what did they call her? She was the daughter of the governor of Seattle?
Something like that, yeah. Some sort of, local, yeah.
So she was the daughter of some arguable, influential, elite person on Earth. That kind of marriage between Garma and whoever she was, whatever her name was, I forgot. Oh, God. I just remember that horrible side story involving her and the excavation of her remains.
Oh, yeah, we got to read that one day.
Oh, my God. That is unholy.
We got to dig that one up. No pun intended.
This is an obscene thing to do, to agree. Anyways, we'll talk about that later in that side story. That union between Prince Garma and whatever her name is, Earth Princess,
right?
Them married together would have been such a symbolic PR win for the Zabis and help them sort of signify that they're going to be the new leaders of the Earth sphere, which of course didn't happen because Garma died, dealing a death blow to really Daegwin's version of the government. I guess you could argue the last remnants of Daegwin's version of the government was Darcia.
Sure.
And much like Daegwin, he was of the mind of, we need peace.
Right, yeah.
And he could only do that when Gihren was dead.
That's true, yeah. It was Iselina, by the way.
Oh,
Iselina,
really?
Right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, because the episode's called Iselina's Revenge.
Oh, it doesn't go well, Iselina.
Well, no, she charges her gallop or whatever right into the thing. So.
Well, with the death of Garma, Char has dealt arguably a very heavy, possibly the heaviest blow to Zeon. You don't really think about it when it happens, but it's pretty significant.
Oh, absolutely. You could even argue that by doing that, he indirectly not killed Daegwin, but he probably robbed Daegwin of his will to fight and sent him into a depression that would eventually have killed him.
Yeah, that's a great point. He took 2 zombies out of the fight with one blow.
Right.
And ironically, kind of put two other zombies more forward into the fight, Caecilia and Girin.
Yeah.
Now jockeying for who's going to be the leader.
Right.
Who's going to give Dozel order?
And Dozel's just off to the side, not caring.
Yeah. Dozel has to be told what to do. Okay, so after this part, this is kind of Amuro's time to shine.
Sure.
Because Char, ironically, after this, kind of is shamed.
Yeah, he's put to the side.
Within Zeon. Yeah, he's persona non grata.
He's putting time out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they find him at a bar. So Char's kind of out of commission, and now Amuro starts his parade of fighting mobile armors.
Yeah.
And parade of helping out in different situations, like Odessa.
Sure.
On Odessa, Amuro, where Char was not at, was able to really kind of save the day, defeat Zeon's plan to really destroy the advance of the Earth sphere. That's another thing you could kind of argue either way. Would Mokuve's nuclear strike on the Earth Federation actually have stopped them in their tracks, or was one nuke not really going to matter when this massive continental push the Earth Federation was doing across Eastern Europe to retake land and really push Zeon out?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I have that on my list of critical accomplishments for Amuro. I mean, if he wasn't there, I would argue the nuke goes off.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I guess maybe Mokuve wouldn't have been as upset, and maybe he doesn't launch the nuke if Amuro's not there, so maybe it's somewhat of a circle. But
true.
If he does launch the nuke, I don't see really anyone else destroying the nuke, so you got to hand it to Amuro on that one. To your point, would it have affected the whole operation? Probably not. I mean, I'm guessing a lot of people would have died.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that the end result would have been any different.
I'm inclined to agree. I feel like Amuro saving the day there, as good as it is, Zeon would have been destroyed regardless on Earth, really. You know, reduced to remnants.
Sure.
And whoever couldn't escape would have to escape. So the nuke is significant, but it was really a hero moment for Amuro.
Yeah.
And also a sign of Zeon's willingness to just abandon the treaty that they signed like 6 months ago.
Right. Exactly, yeah.
As soon as things get tough, they throw the treaty out the window.
That treaty, it's not that important.
That kind of raises the question, though. After that attempt, which I assume Girin or Caecilia found out about, possibly Degwin, did word go out that no one should ever try that again? Because no one ever tried that again. They
I don't know.
Instead focused on the solar ray.
Do you think word really got out? It's not really mentioned. That's it. Maybe that's a good lore question. Listeners, do we know the answer to that? Because Zeon tried nukes other times. There was the team that goes into Jaburo and tries to nuke the factory. There's the killing and the other guy from 080, which we just did a whole episode about. So they have the nukes. They just don't want to use them.
Ironically, the Federation never even attempts to use a nuke.
They hadn't entered Titans mode yet, you know.
Well, even the Titans don't really care about nukes. They got other things like gas and colony lasers. But that's a different podcast. So yes, I certainly give Odessa and the weight of it a bit to Amuro, but not too much.
Sure.
Not too much in terms of the damage dealt to Zeon. That was a bit more collectively the Federation forces.
Right.
So at this point, the war moves into space, Brian. And in space, there's a few skirmishes and stuff here and there. But the next big battle is Solomon, Brian. It's on the doorway over to Zeon. It's the last obstacle before you get to like A Baoa Qu. Which, is it canon, Brian, that from A Baoa Qu, not Solomon, from A Baoa Qu, you can actually see Zeon, the homeland? Or do you still have to go quite a ways?
Oh, that's a good question. I would imagine it would be hard to see. I mean, space is pretty big, but maybe in the right, positioning or something like that.
Listeners, chime in with your thoughts. I've always thought sometimes you can see it from a Baoa Qu, which is horrifying if you're in Side 3 watching this battle happen, and the moment they fail, you're toast. The Federation troops are going to be all over your house and then your neighborhood.
You're packing your bags, getting in your little Zeon minivan and taking off.
Yeah. But Solomon, back to Solomon. So Solomon was the next battle. And of course, Char wasn't there, but Amuro was. Mm-hmm. And Amuro defeated the Big Zom.
That's right.
But I have to argue, much like Odessa, the destruction of the Big Zom and of course the death of Dozel Zabi, who at this point arguably was, unfortunately for Dozel fans, maybe the least important Zabi.
Right, yeah. I have that in my notes too. I mean, look, Amuro got himself a Zabi. He got one of the 5, right? Char got 2 of the 5. Amuro got 1 of the 5. We could expand to 6, I guess, if you want. Sasro, but I'm not going to count Sasro here.
No.
But you're right. Dozle wasn't going to be the future of Zeon. He was a substantial man. I won't take anything physical away from him. He was substantial in the standing and public perception. A good pilot, certainly, but he wasn't going to be a leader, right? So It's a significant kill. I would say the kill is more significant in the fact that by destroying the Big Zom, he probably saved several hundred lives, if not thousands, of Federation lives at Solomon. Because realistically, the Federation would have just kept bombarding Solomon, and the station would have fell even if the Big Zom survived and Dozle was able to get away.
Absolutely.
He could have maybe mopped up all of the capital ships around, but I mean, Solomon after the fact would have just been completely unusable. So Solomon, in my opinion, was going to fall. But who was going to stop the Big Zom, really, Isaac?
Yeah. It's kind of a Noya Zeal situation. And they're very similar situations if you think about it. We have a very powerful mobile suit going out in mobile armor going out in combat against the Federation fleet that outnumbers it. And the Federation fleet's going to win. Whether you take out half the fleet, a third of the fleet, the Federation will still win.
Right.
It's just a matter of Dozle, I don't know, maybe running out of fuel or fatigue, who knows. But it was going to happen regardless. I'd even argue that 2 Big Zoms would not have changed the course of the tide of the battle at Solomon. So that said, Amuro's defeat of Dozle and his role in the battle is just like Odessa. It was significant, but it was not the sole reason that the battle was won. At this point, the Federation has the space gyms. They've got their Solomuses and their fleets all lined up and back in order. Whatever forces on Earth they needed to deploy in space, they did. Zeon's off Earth, except for whatever the remnants are hiding, whatever rocks they're hiding under. So at this point, yes, Amuro did win and did contribute to the victory, but it was not a huge blow to Zeon solely on Amuro's part.
That's an interesting question, Isaac, looping back to what you said before about the Federation not having used nukes. When do you think they would have? So, for example, if Amuro failed to destroy the Big Zom, or say he just wasn't there, to my point earlier, the gyms that they're sending in aren't getting close. They're not going to work. Is that when the Federation launches nukes? Because at this point, they've made up their mind, right? They are going to march their forces to Side 3 no matter what happens.
Right.
If you hit a roadblock, is that the point when you're like, you know what? I'm close enough. I don't need the treaty anymore. What are they going to do? And you just nuke Solomon.
I'm going to kind of give Federation leadership at the time, not the benefit of the doubt, but just the inclination to want to keep to the wording of the treaty.
Okay.
Because they didn't need it, and the solar system currently existed. Sure, Dozle destroyed Tianum and the control ship, right?
Yeah.
But you can always build another solar system. There might have been one already in production. We don't know.
Yeah.
Knowing the Federation, they probably were building another one at the same time.
Sure.
So would the Federation have used nukes? I'm inclined to know. Did they take nukes to Solomon? I'm inclined to know. But again, it's hard to say.
Okay.
There was almost no point in a way. This could be its own side story, of course, that, well, if the solar array fails, use the nukes. Whatever happens, we have to get through. But I think the Big Zom, even if it had to fight, wave after wave of gyms and destroy them, or wave after wave of Solomuses and destroy them, Magellans, it would have ultimately fallen. That eye field can't last forever.
Sure.
Its time was numbered on the battlefield at Solomon.
Yeah, it'll run out of ammo at some point.
Yeah. Ironically, now that I think about it, Dozle, just because by nature of being Minerva's father, had really a huge impact in the future of the Earth sphere moving forward.
Right. I was going to say, actually, his most important thing, it might have just been the fact that he fathered Minerva.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Right.
And there's nothing of Dozle in Minerva.
No, not even the size. She's a rather fair, small individual.
Yeah. I mean,
she's brave.
He's a brave man. Minerva's brave. So I'll give them that.
Sure.
Headstrong. Confident.
A good leader of people. She rallies, people when she has the chance.
Yeah, Dozle's not one to kind of lead from the rear.
No. Yeah.
Minerva doesn't mind getting her hands dirty or getting in harm's way.
Right.
Although I still my problems with Minerva, but that's a different podcast. Anyways, so now, Brian, we get to Baoa Qu, and of course, Char once again makes his return, right?
Yep.
Ironically, with the help of Caecilia, who he will later kill.
Yep, there you go.
This is really a case of, you really shouldn't help some people.
Right.
They don't have your best interest at heart. God, what the hell was she thinking? Like, oh, later we'll work something out, Casval. Yeah, right. Are you out of your mind? God.
I was wondering, at least in G-Quux, I felt like, wasn't there a scene where she made it seem like she at least felt that he remembered her more fondly? Maybe she assumed that even if he hated the zombies, that he didn't necessarily hate her. That was kind of what I took from G-Quux, but I'm not sure if that would apply to the normal timeline. I don't remember her being all that nice in Origin, but it's been a while since I watched Origin, so.
From what I recall from the conversations that we did see them in, it was very respectful and professional.
Right.
I can't think of one time he talked to Giran.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So maybe in her mind, she was like, oh, you know what? He probably doesn't like my family, but like I personally have never done anything to him. So why should I? I mean, she clearly didn't see this coming, I guess. Or if she did, then she did a horrible job of planning for it. But
she sure saw that rocket coming. Oh, zing! So you're kind of assuming that she was like, okay, he clearly has it out for Dagwin, but like Dagwin made his own bed,
right? Yeah, exactly.
We can understand that, but maybe he'll believe I had nothing to do with it because I was like, I was 18 at the time or something.
Yeah,
right?
I got the sense that she felt that she was helping him meet his goals, or whatever it is, getting higher in Zeon, etc. And she never thought that he would have that much of anger for the zombies, that it would spill to her, which is probably a dumb thought, right? Because if you're her, and you get the inkling that something is wrong, don't you start putting a bomb in his suits just in case?
Yeah, but I mean, she's repeatedly made that misjudgment, because if you remember in Origin, she kind of let him go like a couple of times, or at least once.
Yeah.
Right. And then there was the whole fiasco with the shuttle explosion that didn't work out.
Right.
The passenger ship. And then she knew he was still alive afterwards because he made it to Earth. She really dropped the ball multiple times, really thinking, oh, things are okay. Or maybe he thinks I let him get away. Right. Who knows?
I guess she thinks her knowledge of his secret protects her enough that she doesn't have to worry about him. But I mean, clearly, he doesn't share that opinion. So
no, he was in wipeout mode. Even little Garma, who had nothing to do with the assassination of Zeon Zumdaiken,
right,
had to pay the piper for something that he was never involved in.
That's right.
So that should have kind of tipped her off that, well, even if Char was maybe not involved in that, maybe it was just, combat is combat. I should have been more cautious. But even Kycilia makes mistakes, as we saw. And as we saw at the end of the Battle of A Baoa Qu, where Char kills her. During the Battle of A Baoa Qu, even though Amuro and Char face off, Amuro's actions, they're kind of directed towards Zeon in general, and then get narrow focus on Char.
Right.
Char's actions, he does kill a few, random Federation units, but then he does end up focusing on the White Devil, and they kind of both get tunnel vision. Whatever impact the Zeon could have had against the whole Federation fleet kind of gets canceled out because he's too busy focused on the White Devil. Same thing for the Gundam. If it could have done anything special without the Zeon there, we'll never know because it gets focused on just defeating the Zeon. As the battle progresses, of course, they both exit the mobile suits, and at that point, the war is pretty much gone the course it's going to go. Zeon's on the back foot, Baoa Qu's kind of in shambles, and eventually Giran, his death gets announced, which Char had nothing to do with, ironically.
Sure.
I don't think Kycilia having Char now into Zeon would have not gone ahead with shooting Giran if Char wasn't there. I feel like Char's presence had nothing to do with it. At that point, it was all about Dagwin's assassination.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
At that point, she was going to kill him regardless of what happened. Just because if Dagwin got assassinated by Giran, she was going to kill Giran no matter what, with whatever method she could, whether it was gas, like we saw in G-Quux. Spoiler alert, sorry. Move spoiler alert prior to that statement. Or with a laser rifle, a beam rifle somehow that she smuggled into the bridge, where I don't think there should be any rifles of any kind. But
Isaac has a strict no rifle policy on his bridges.
No. We'll have a buffet on the bridge.
Bridges are for civilized people.
I mean, we can't give orders if we're hungry. All right. Anyways, so at this point, Amuro and Char are out of the fight because they're just jetpacking around, chasing each other until Char decides to deal arguably the death blow to the zombies, which is the destruction of Kycilia Zanzibar with a rocket straight into her face through the viewport on the bridge, of her Zanzibar as it's moments, seconds from making its escape from A Baoa Qu to go to Granada to continue leading Zeon. So with that done, and Amuro's role, arguably at the battle, really oriented around destroying Char's ability to fight in a mobile suit, I feel like Char absolutely crushes Zeon's hope with a concluding blow to the Zabi family. And I say the Zabi family, and yes, I know Minerva's still alive,
Right.
but Minerva is so far removed
Right.
from what the Zabis believe in during the 1 Year War. She might as well be whatever her what was her decoy name?
Oh,
It was like Bernadette.
no, not Bernadette. That's from Crossbone Gundam.
Oh God.
It's Audrey Byrne.
Audrey, okay. Yeah, at that point, she kind of becomes so far removed from the Zabis. I almost don't really consider her part of the family. And I know a lot of Zabi members do, or sorry, Zeon members do and Neo Zeon, but man, the things she says are so anti-Neo Zeon.
I mean, she's Zabi in name only, really.
Yeah, pretty much. God, it drives me crazy, Brian, when characters are so like polite to her and stuff and they're in a Zeon uniforms.
Right.
It's like, she's not a princess. She's the enemy. But back to what I was saying, Brian, I feel like with the death of Caecilia, even though the Gundam had such a huge role in the story and was at so many battles and did so much damage to Zeon, Char himself, as just a man, not in the mobile suit, did far more damage to Zeon and ultimately became Zeon's worst enemy, and certainly the Zabi's worst enemy. And in conclusion, he dealt the most damage, Brian, to Zeon during the 1 Year War.
All right, you have selected your winner. So Isaac has selected Char,
Yeah.
his arch nemesis, the man he hates
Yeah.
the most
Oh my
in
God.
the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise.
He ruined everything, listeners.
And now we know why, because Isaac, deep down, Isaac felt that Char ended his favorite people, the Zabi family.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like, we had a good thing going, and you just started knocking people off left and right. You could even do another kind of, what if? Like, what if Dozel did follow the orders, or at least his wife's advice, to escape?
Sure. Yeah.
Not that he would, because he wanted to go down with the ship and
Yeah.
his men. But I don't know. I feel like, would an order from Giran or Dagwin have pulled him back? Possibly.
I don't know. I mean, he was pretty dead set on getting his men out of there. I would say maybe he would have escaped if the Gundam wasn't there, but it was, and he went out and faced it.
When he told his co-pilots to leave. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of that.
Well, those are all good arguments, Isaac. I can't say I disagree with you on many accounts here, so I may get to the same conclusion. Let's do this from my perspective, all right? So
From the Federation perspective. All right, let's check it out.
So the first thing I thought of was how many people did these people kill, right?
Wow.
Entertainment Bible 39 lists a bunch of ace pilot kill counts, and Amuro Ray was the second highest ranking ace pilot on the Federation side with 142 mobile suit kills.
Wow.
Entertainment Bible 39 is published in 1991. You can read, I believe, the translated version on Mark Simmons' website, Gundam Unofficial. The top ranking one is 10th A. Jung. He only had 149 kills, so only 7 more than Amuro. Amuro had 9 ship kills, whereas 10th Jung only had 3. So they're very close. The Zeon ace pilot list, however, is a little bit different. The top 8 in Zeon all had over 100 kills, whereas only Amuro and 10th on the Federation side had over 100.
Wow.
Yeah, the top 8 in Zeon are Brenneth Oggs, Nordit Bauer, Johnny Ryden, Eric Mansfield, Shin Matsunaga, Gabby Hazard, Grennis Escort, and Robert Gilliam. The lowest of them only having 103 mobile suit kills, and the highest being 193. Char, you'll notice, is not on that list, Isaac, which means he killed somewhere south of 103 mobile suits, which is kind of understandable based on everything we just discussed, right? If you think about who Char killed, he killed Garma, Caecilia, and he kept Amuro at bay. He did kill at least 5 ships. We know about that. I think he killed either most or all of those in Loom, and then I'm sure he killed, a few others. But by and large, his list of targets is much smaller than those that you can think of for Amuro, right? Amuro killed Ramba Ral, the Black Tri-Stars, Makuve, Lala, Shalia Bull, Dozel, and then he killed a lot of mobile armors, which we're going to talk about in a second here. So then the question becomes, how do we put Amuro's kills in context and whose kills mean more? I would say that Amuro killing Ramba Ral actually helps the Zabis, Isaac. So that's actually a negative for this discussion. I would say the Black Tri-Stars don't really matter. I mean, they were cool. I don't know that they were
No.
like ace pilots though by the end of the war, you know what I mean, based on how things were progressing. They definitely preyed on some unprepared opponents, but I don't really count that as a lot.
As much as the Black Tri-Stars are loved, as far as Amuro's concerned, it was really no different than fighting a mobile armor.
Right.
He just went on with his day afterwards.
Exactly. Makuve's an interesting one. I mean, he killed Makuve so late in the war, though, that I'm not sure that it really mattered whether Makuve survived or died at that point. So I don't think that one holds a lot of weight. I think the ones that hold more weight are Lala and Shalia, because he took out 2 big new types from the battlefield. I mean, you know, those episodes where they were, like Lala was testing out the Elmith, there really wasn't much the Federation could do against her. And he kind of took her out, even if he did it by accident. Same thing with Shalia. If he had been left to his own devices, I mean, he may have killed a lot more people. That doesn't really mean that Zeon would have won the war, because again, there are thousands of troops coming. Eventually, they probably would have been overwhelmed and their suits would have stopped working. But he definitely saved a lot of lives.
Yeah.
So when we think about the kill counts, I had to find a way to put that in perspective. And the only way to do that is to look at mobile suit production numbers. So if you think about it, Amuro killed 142 mobile suits, according to Entertainment Bible 39. That doesn't really mean much if we don't know how many mobile suits are out there, okay? So there's quite the debate about mobile suit production numbers, and you'll get quite a range. But I'm going to come up with a range that I think is reasonable based on, there was a nice post that Mark Simmons did on Mecha Talk forums in 2009. Obviously, there's probably been some updated canon since then, but these numbers seem pretty reasonable to me, so I'm going to stick with them. I saw someone saying online that someone at some point said that there were like 1 million mobile suits in the war, which I just think is completely ridiculous and unreasonable.
That sounds high.
That cannot be a true number. Yeah. There's just no possible way that humans can manufacture that amount of material. That's just not possible. So just for the Zaku series, Isaac, I'm going to use a sum of about 3,200 for the Zaku 2s, like all types of Zaku 2s. And I'm going to include the Zaku 1 in there. We're just going to say 3,200 is a fair estimate. There's a variety of sources in here. The Master Grade and Perfect Grade say there are 800 Zaku 1s. There are different sources in the early 1980s that say, one says there were 2,000 Zaku 1s and 2s. One says there were 8,000 Zaku 1s and 2s. There's one issue of the B Club magazine that says there was 4,000. The Master Grade manual says there was 3,000. And then you have a bunch of smaller numbers of the A, the 2A, the 2B, the 2C, the 2D, etc. But the Perfect Grade manual says there were 3,200 in the Zaku 2 series, I think, altogether. So 3,200 is what I'm going to use for that. The Goof, there's about 250 Goofs, Isaac. There was 3 prototypes, 32 A types, 200 of the B types, which we saw commonly in Mobile Suit Gundam, 4 flight types, which we saw in 8th MS Team. So that's only 250 Goofs compared to 3,200 Zakus. For the DOMs, Isaac, there were 2 prototype DOMs, 600 base like DOMs on Earth, and then there's not a specific number given for the RIC DOMs, but the Zeon military file CD-ROM game, which I believe is from the early 1990s. I don't know if it's a game or just like a data book. This is back, listeners, when encyclopedias were on CDs. So you don't even know what encyclopedia is anymore. But if we assume that said they made 200 RICDOMs per month. So if we envision them starting RICDOM production in September, we'll say that's a max of 800 RICDOMs. Okay, so just to be conservative, I'm going to use 800 RICDOMs and 600 base DOMs. So that's 1,400 DOMs total. There were 88 Dwages, 3 Gyons, 300 Gogs, 60 At guys, 3 Zoks, for a total of about 5,300 or so mobile suits that Zeon produced during the war, which seems like a reasonable number, Isaac. That seems doable from a manufacturing perspective if that's your sole purpose of your country and you're using asteroids and stuff as your fuel. And the only thing I don't know here, I didn't look this up, if someone knows, I don't know how many of those mobile suits survived the war, right? So not all of them were destroyed. So my number isn't technically exactly correct. It could be a little higher from what I'm about to say. So Amuro destroyed 142 out of the 5,300. That's a 3% rate, Isaac. That means he took out 3% of Zeon's output himself, which is pretty insane. One dude,
that's insane,
just took out 3% of your entire force. You know what's even more insane, Isaac? I did not include mobile armors. You know how many Adzams there were? 2. There were 14 Big Rows, 1 Big Zom, 3 Grublos, 2 Browbros, 3 Elmiths.
Now there's 0.
Maybe 1 Elmith and maybe 3 Browbros, depending on which source you look at. Amuro took out 6 of them. That means Amuro took out 25% of the Zeon mobile armors. If you say they're about 24 or 25 total. Oh, and actually, you know what? I think I forgot to add Gelgoogs in there. So if I add Gelgoogs in there, we probably get up to about 6,000 mobile suits.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, they lowered.
God.
They lowered the amount of Gelgoogs in later years. They originally said there were 740, and then we went down to 180, and now I think the master grade manuals have come down maybe even a little less. So I'm going to use the master grade manuals. That'll put Zeon up to about 5,600 or so. But so I mean, Amuro's still clocking in at about he still rounds up to 3%, Isaac. So I think that's a fair estimate.
Anything above 1% is insane.
Absolutely, right? In the real world, that would be unfathomable. In the real world, you get ace pilot designation if you make 5 kills. Okay, Amuro had 142.
Yeah.
And a lot of those were heavy weighted, right? That's I don't even know if that includes mobile armors. So
I've always felt like a mobile armor it's really like fighting a squad of mobile suits, if not a ship.
Absolutely. And so, okay, so to give that more context, Isaac, so Amuro, 3% of all mobile suits, 25% of mobile armors. That's nuts. How many did the Federation forces have? Depending on the source, again, there's B Club issue 70 magazine that says there was 3,800 gyms made, plus 50 ground gyms, plus another 50 or so GM cannons. Those are from the Master Grade manuals and the Mobile Suit Variation series. Gundam Century, which is another older publication, said there were 1,200 balls. But that was also the source that said there was 8,000 Zaku 2s. So if we cut that in half to be conservative, that's about 600 balls. If you add all that up, plus the Gundams, there was roughly 8 RX-78 series Gundams, give or take, depending on your source. There was 3 Pixie Gundams, 20 plus ground Gundams, at least 4 gun cannons, probably some more. I didn't count the gun tanks because it's not really going to matter. These are all single digits. They're not really tacking on that much to the gym count. That means the Federation forces had about 4,500 or so gyms and Gundams and whatever else you want to throw in. That's pretty comparable to our total for Zeon, which is the 5,500 or so. So if I then compare the Zeon ace pilots, those top 8 I mentioned, Brenniff Oggs, Nordic Bauer, Johnny Ryden, and all their friends in the top 8, going down from their mobile suit kills of 193 all the way down to 103, their percentage of Federation output that they destroyed, Isaac, get ready for this, is 4%, 4%, 4%, 3%, 3%, 3%, 2%, 3%. That means the top 8 Zeon pilots, Isaac, took out 27% of the Federation forces by themselves. That is incredible.
Oh my God.
That tells you that the Federation had no idea what they were doing in terms of piloting.
In their defense, Brian, Zeon's had mobile suits far longer.
That's true. And these guys were top of the line. So why does this matter? That means that Amuro, at least in terms of raw numbers, his 3% is no better than any of basically the top 8 aces of Zeon in terms of like percentage of Federation forces killed. I mean, now they probably took out a bunch of grunts. He took out, Amuro took out, again, a bunch of heavier hitters. So it's probably fair to weight Amuro maybe a little bit higher than those guys. But Zeon had just as many good aces on their side in terms of raw numbers, and they obviously didn't win the war. So there's no definitive answer to that way of looking at it, other than to say Amuro's not alone in his raw output of kills. So we can't say Amuro wins. If someone says, oh, well, Amuro killed more than Char, so therefore he did more damage to Zeon, I don't think we can say that, because there was just as many people on the Zeon side who were destroying as many mobile suits as Amuro, and Zeon still lost handily. So after that, you have to look at, okay, it's those intangibles that I talked about before, right? Amuro killed some of Zeon's best pilots and suits. Imagine all those 6 mobile armors that he took out. Some of those people were probably the best of the best pilots that Zeon had. So in terms of like, Absolutely. How do you weight those kills? Amuro's weight is got to be higher. It's closer to like 10% if you're thinking about who this dude is killing, right?
Oh my God.
We already talked about how he occupied Char throughout the war, how he had the White Devil had a psychological impact. Now, again, we did talk about, though, that some of his kills don't matter as much, right? Dozel would not have been the successor. I think killing Dozel really only helped save some Federation lives at Solomon. Probably a lot, hundreds, if not thousands. Killing Rambaral, like I said, actually helps the zombies. Killing Makuve, that's cool, but Makuve was not more important than Kycilia, certainly.
No.
And he was critical to the success of the fact that, he got in the Gundam like we talked about. Odessa, he destroyed the nuke. We didn't talk about Jaburo, though. I mean, I think he was critical there. What would have happened if he wasn't there, Isaac? I mean, Char might have just destroyed all the gym factory equipment, or the Salamis and Magellan manufacturing equipment that was there at Jaburo. So that's pretty key.
Yeah.
Would that have won the war? I don't know. They probably would have just rebuilt later somewhere else. It certainly helped, though. We already talked about Solomon, who would have stopped the Big Zom if Amuro wasn't there. We didn't talk as much about A Baoa Qu. Again, who would have stopped Lala and Char, if Shalia was there? Imagine Lala and Shalia at A Baoa Qu and Char, and one of them in the Browborough, one of them in the Zeong, one of them in the Elmith. I mean, hot damn. The Federation's going to lose those thousands of gyms that they brought, right?
That would have been bad.
I did read somewhere, I can't remember what the source was. Someone said, maybe it was one of the sources. It might be. I'll post a link to the Mecha Talk post so you all can read it. But I think somewhere in there it said like half the gyms survived the war, right? So that means the percentage effectiveness of those Zeon members, ace pilots, goes way up, because I compared it to the total produced, not necessarily the total killed. And then if you compare that to Char, again, he only kills Garmin and Kycilia, and then, whatever, a bunch of other people probably at A Baoa Qu. But Garma, again, kneecaps the succession. That was the future of Zeon. Kycilia, for me, Isaac, that counts more than the death of Sasur, Odegwin, and Girin, because it happened after. Those three were already dead, and Garma was already dead when Char kills Kycilia. So the fact that he kills the last Zabi, I'll call it the last real Zabi, no offense, Mineva, but that is like the death knell to the family and to the regime, essentially.
A war effort.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's really no coming back for that, because Kycilia, had she got away, had she gone to Granada, you could have made something happen, but he took that away in a matter of seconds. So I think I'm somewhat inclined to agree with you that I think probably overall we probably got to give it to Char, but it's not exactly a one-to-one thing. I mean, if I was trying to come up with an analogy here, Isaac, and this is the best I could do, okay? It's like when in a movie there's just like this huge bear or monster that's attacking people, and people start shooting it, and the bullets aren't working. And maybe you shoot it enough and it'll die. If we go with the bear analogy, maybe people are throwing spears at it, right? It's like when, cavemen go attack a bear or something. People are probably gonna die, and one of them's gonna kill that bear, right?
We hope. It could go the other way.
It could, that's true. It could go very bad.
This was a really good bear.
But if you think of Zeon as the bear, Amuro was the sharpest and the most effective spear in the volley. And that spear was just made of adamantium, and it punched through all the way to the heart. But the bear was still gonna go a little bit longer, even if it had that spear in the heart. So one man really can't fell it alone. There has to be all these people around the bear to take it down. And so eventually, the other spears, there would have been more people. They would have overwhelmed that bear in time, because the bear is gonna tire out, and the bear is gonna run out of food or whatever. And that's exactly what happened to Zeon, right?
Right.
But perhaps having Amuro there saved many, 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 many more lives than would have been lost otherwise. All those critical success things that I listed, maybe not one of them you could call war changing, but maybe if you take them together, if you run through the scenarios, there's a high percentage that it was war changing. But like you said, it's a lot of what ifs, and we don't really know what would happen. Whereas Char, my analogy for him is like this dude. And this is like a reverse analogy, because Char is like Luke delivering the killing blow through a small exhaust port, a small window, you might say, Kycilia's window, that proved, that proved to be the Zabi Zeon's total nail in the coffin, right? Because Zeon can take on all these little hits from all these grunts and stuff, but you can't defend against the threat within, Isaac, the unknown, just dagger to the heart, or in this case, rocket to the face.
Yeah.
You just can't defend against that. Char was his own man on the inside. He delivered the killing blow at the right time. So it's hard to say which one did more damage, but Char certainly killed the family more than Amuro did. Char's actions definitely made sure that the Zabi family would never rise again to the same height.
Absolutely.
Even if Amuro did more visible damage, right? If you look at the trail of destruction, Amuro's wins hands down. But who killed the family? I think you got to give that one to Char. So if you're looking at who killed the family, the regime, that was Char. Who killed the forces of Zeon? I mean, that was Amuro. He just blazed a path straight through, right? You gave the kid some magnet spray, and then he just went even further. Like, if you think about it, Amuro he marched like right on into the heart of A Baoa Qu and pretty much took out everything on his way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for this one, if you think about the regime of Zeon, I think I'm going to go with Char.
Ah.
That's not to shortchange Amuro's path here, but like I said, I mean, he's only one man. He can only take out so many forces, but he was fighting a different type of war. He was fighting the regime. He took out the big targets. So I think I'm going to agree with you from this perspective.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought we'd go a different way, a different conclusion, Brian. This is a bit of a shock.
I think those ace pilot numbers really put it in perspective that there were people on the Zeon side doing more raw damage than Amuro, and they still lost.
That really just kind of reinforces the vastness of the Earth Federation and how this war, from a point of view, if you believe Rebel's speech that Zeon is exhausted, this war was done, technically, before Amuro got the mobile suit, before he got the Gundam.
Yeah, it might have taken longer. It might have taken 2 years, 3 years, or maybe. But I agree. I mean, their time was ticking.
The writing was on the wall, and General Rebel saw it up close and personal. Brian, would you, based on now that you've kind of done a tallying of the numbers and Amuro's role, could you almost say really that Amuro saved more Federation lives by being on the battlefield than actually destroyed Zeonic life?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's definitely true.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because even one of those events, if they go wrong, I mean, the catastrophic fatalities that would have resulted would have been much more than his 142 kills. If he lets Dozel loose on Solomon, if he kills one more ship, that's another 142 lives lost, right?
Sure. But you never just kill one ship when you're in the
zone. You shoot at least 2 at a time, right? You got 2 hands.
Those beams are going in every direction.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what I'm saying. He saved thousands of lives just by being there at Solomon, taking out the big Zom. Does that win the war? No, but it certainly helps, and it certainly, it definitely makes the war not last as long.
So going off that part, making the war last long or stopping it from lasting as long, do you feel like Char in his own way saved a lot of lives by putting that bazooka rocket through Caecilia's head and through the bridge of the Zanzibar?
Are you implying that Zeon is like a sick dog and Char put the dog down?
See, that's the unknown, right? Caecilia escaping. That's another podcast episode we got to do. What happens if the Zanzibar gets off of Baoa Qu? Arguably, is she able to make the war continue, or does she sue for peace and kind of try to stay in power?
Sure.
Or if the war does continue, does killing her and preventing her from leaving a Baoa Qu mean Char actually saved lives?
Right.
Stopping the war in its tracks.
Yeah, because G-Quox didn't answer that for us, right? Because it just resulted in this overwhelming victory for Zeon, which isn't quite as interesting of the what if, I guess, from my perspective. But,
as much as we both like Darcia, it's pretty clear he was, if not scared of the zombies, wise enough to know that he couldn't make a move with a single zombie still alive. So he had to wait to sue for peace until he got confirmation that they're all gone.
I wonder if Caecilia would have valued him more in her retreat position rather than her position of power, right? But we'll never know, I guess.
I really doubt it.
Oh, really?
I doubt it, because Darcia was very old guard, so he's of her father's cohort. So she had, what was his name? A guy that got shot trying to help her escape.
Oh yeah, her
on Baoa Qu.
I don't remember his name, but
Bernard? No,
I don't know.
That. Whatever his name was, he was probably of the ilk. But Makuve would have been the new Darcia. Let's put it that way. Had he lived.
I can tell you their decor would have been outstanding.
You need style if you're working your Caecilia. I hope everybody recognizes that by now. Standard.
Yeah.
So it turns out Char is not just the Red Comet, he's the death blow of Zeon. Oh my God.
Yeah.
He did it all.
He did it. Listeners, again, that the source I used for this, all those numbers and stuff, it was from 2009. I'm sure there's some updated sources. If those new updated sources are saying 1 million mobile suits, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. That makes zero sense to me. Those numbers are garbage. I think these numbers are pretty reasonable, especially because there was a few episodes ago, Isaac, we talked about how many suits and ships there were in later Zeon movements, and it was very low. And so I think those very low numbers make sense based on the numbers that I have from this episode. So if there's some new source that's saying millions, that makes, again, I don't think that jives with pretty much everything we've seen, because we've definitely seen what feels like hundreds or thousands on the screen, but we've never seen millions.
We're in Star Wars scale at that point, which is too vast for the Earth sphere,
especially in the fact that half the population or whatever is gone, right? So you can't like kill everybody and then say, oh well, but don't worry, we made millions of these things. I think we also talked about in that episode that it's in the tens of thousands of military planes and stuff in the real world, and you got to think a mobile suit's 3 times as big as those types of things, 4 times. So you can't have more millions. Expensive. I mean, come on, let's be realistic to some degree here. So but if anyone has any quibbles with the figures, that's totally fine. I was using some estimates. Go read the articles, go consult the sources, let me know where I went wrong, and let me know if there's any better sources since 2009, but those seemed reasonable. So I'll post the links, and I mean, you all can go argue with Mark Simmons about it. So
and listeners, who do you think had the biggest impact in the defeat of Zeon? Was it Char? Was it actually Amuro? Was it somebody else? Was it Bright or Frau? Was it Haro? Was it the chef that didn't have salt for the burger?
I was going to suggest Haro.
How did Haro deal the death blow to Zeon?
By the way, another good thing that Amuro did, which we didn't talk about, which is, this doesn't really count because this is why I didn't bring it up, but at A Baoa Qu, if he hadn't got the white base crew to safety, imagine what would have happened later on in the timeline. The impact of that is huge, right? So no Bright, no Mirai, no Hayato, no Kai, so there was a lot of people on that ship that he got out, including himself.
Almost like something was working to make sure things unfolded in a certain way. The Kira, Brian. There's another dimension making sure things go right.
There you go. All right, listeners. You heard it here first. We agreed on the subject of Char, which is probably a first, Isaac. I'm not sure. I'm not sure you've ever chosen Char to win any sort of contest.
He should win first to be destroyed for his actions that ruined the 1 Year War on behalf of the zombies.
Public enemy number 1.
Which arguably could have won. They might have won if the Soul Ray went well, but again, that might have been some of Girin's foolishness. We'll never know.
Quick draw Girin over there.
Argue till the sun rises.
All right, Isaac, take us away.
All right, listeners, before you go to sleep tonight, stand next to your bed, get on your knees, put your hands together, look up at the ceiling, and hail Char Aznable, the Red Comet.
Good night, everybody.